Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Two separate, distinct visions of America. I listened last night to Kamala Harris's closing remarks, standing in front of the White House on the ellipse and presenting her case to the American people. It was a two-part case. One was against Donald Trump and his vision of America, and the other was an attempt to clarify her vision of America. And I say an attempt to clarify because there are so many people who claim they still don't know where she stands. And then I listened to Fox. Sean Hannity, who did an extensive interview with Donald Trump. What I learned was that if you put those two visions together, they are in conflict, pure and simple. It seems to me today, only a few days away from the election, that the conflict between two visions of America has never been clearer. And so what will the American people vote on November 5th, or have you already voted? Because that's the real question. I listened with great interest to the entire rally held in Madison Square Garden. And it was broadcast, and I listened with great care because I wanted to hear all of the subtle aspects of a closing political rally. Not unusual, by the way, for a candidate to hold a closing political rally in New York at Madison Square Garden. And what I heard, again, was a dark vision of America, not a positive vision of America. And so I have to stop and think. What words mean? Last night, President Biden referred to what happened as garbage. And it was interesting because Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, immediately said what Donald Trump was doing was defining his supporters one way, while Joe Biden was defining his supporters as garbage. And I listened. And then I went back and listened again. And the White House actually clarified it. No, to be fair, Joe Biden did not call Donald Trump voters garbage. He said what was stated by that so-called comedian at Madison Square Garden attacking Puerto Rico was garbage. But don't confuse people with the facts, because we are beyond facts in this campaign. Whether or not it is true that foreign countries are releasing their prisoners, their insane asylums, their least desirable residents to the United States is in fact true doesn't matter. Because to those who want to believe that to be true, it is true. And you can state all of the contrary information, that of course nations are not releasing their most vicious prisoners to come to the United States. They say it clearly, they say it precisely. Yet it doesn't matter. So what are we really voting on in November? Just a few days away. We are going to make choices. That's what we're going to do. And so I wanted to reflect with you this moment on choices, because that's what we've come down to. Years ago, I taught a course called America at the Crossroads. And in that class, I suggested that each election is critical. Each election provides an opportunity for the American people to consider with great care what it is that we want and what direction we want to go in. We really should contemplate that. We have never had an election that presents starker choices. I have not read the new biography of Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the United States Senate, but I have read the accounts of it and I've heard the tapes from it. Mitch McConnell makes a case against Donald Trump. He does. There's no question about it. And yet, in the end, Mitch McConnell announced, despite Trump's attacks on his wife, despite Trump's attacks on everything that Ronald Reagan's legacy presented for McConnell, that McConnell is going to vote for Donald Trump. And I thought to myself, there's the whole story right there. The story of where we are at this moment. I think in the end, people are voting based on a perception, a tale of two nations. The fact is that who wins this election will be a critical turning point in the history of our country. We always say in every presidential election that who wins, well, that's the important story. And it's true. But there is more. What is the future under a particular leader? So my point this morning is we are a nation deeply divided. And I do not know whether or not in the end we will be able to resolve those differences, even with an election. The bitterness is so deep. The anger is so deep. The frustration is so deep. And the passions, my friends, are so raw. So in telling you a tale of two cities, I'm not really giving you an answer to the question of what America will choose to do. I don't know. But if you listen carefully to what Kamala Harris said in her closing pitch to the American people, delivered on the ellipse, and you listen very carefully to what Donald Trump said in his final pitch on the Hannity show, you see that contrasting vision of America. Who will win? We'll know soon. But the wounds of this campaign will have to heal. And that, my friends, will take time and effort. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let us know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. I appreciate your feedback, which I receive regularly, both at LinkedIn and on Facebook. And, of course, I want to say a special word of thanks to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Heaven only knows where we will be then. See you tomorrow.